This is Father Dominic Holtz coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri, with a word of hope for Monday of the 15th week in Ordinary Time. The Church Father Dionysius raised the question why, when God speaks of himself in the Scriptures, he often uses such images that are so distant from himself when he calls himself a rock or a fortress. We know that God isn't a rock. We know he's not a fortress. He doesn't sit on a throne. He doesn't blow winds from his nostrils or have a mighty arm. So why, asked Dionysius, does God use those images? Well, he says the reason he does so is so that we don't get so attached to the image that we forget to think about God. After all, since we know God isn't literally a fortress or doesn't literally sit on a throne, our minds are immediately brought from this lowly image to the deeper truth about God. When God does choose to use more exalted images like light or breath or spirit, we might say that these are more fitting because they're nobler, but there's a risk. The risk is that our minds will stop there, will stop with these more exalted things and not pursue the truth about God. I think there's something of that going on in today's very difficult gospel that has quite difficult things to say about family. Jesus reminds us that anyone who prefers mother or father, son or daughter to himself is not worthy of him. And that's a hard saying. He also says he's come to bring not peace, but the sword, division between father and son, mother and daughter, daughter-in-law and mother-in-law. Now, what's going on there? One of the things I think is that family is such a powerful and powerfully good thing in our lives. It's very easy to think it's the best thing. We might imagine, well, I couldn't exist at all without my parents, so that must be the most intimate form of relationship I have. No matter what else, I have my family ties. But of course, it's easy enough to see what's going on here. Because deeper than my existence as a son or a daughter, as a mother or a father, is my existence as a creature. I wouldn't be any of those things. I wouldn't have a family. I couldn't have children or parents unless I am first a creature of God. And since Jesus is himself God, it's easy to see why he's telling us we can't prefer one of his other creatures to himself. We're more intimately bound up in God as our creator than we are in any of his other creatures, however noble and good they are. But what about the sword? What about division? Well, the sad fact is, I think Jesus wants to know many of us have already committed ourselves to the creature rather than the creator. A noble creature, yes, the creature of the family, but we've already stopped there. We've already decided that that's the best good. We're already willing to make all sorts of compromises that might seem justifiable because they're for such a good thing, but in the end will corrupt and destroy us because whatever is not submitted to God in the end draws us away from him. That's the truth. That's what Jesus wants us to hear. Not a hard truth of division, but the real truth of his priority in our lives, of our making him first of all, and in receiving him first of all, being able to receive all the other goods that he has given us. And that, my brothers and sisters, is a word of hope.